at Melanopath. This video is the second part about the use of immunohistochemistry in melanocytic proliferations. Here are the three topics this video will be covering. We will start with unpigmented dermal and ulcerated tumors. Here with an example on the back of a 65-year-old man. This tumor has a wide ulceration and there is no intraepidermal nest that can ascertain that this is a melanocytic tumor, and it is unpigmented. The malignant nature of this tumor is obvious. So to confirm melanocytic lineage, we usually start with S100, which is a very sensitive antibody. Using a red chromogene, we have a very diffuse positivity that is both in the cytoplasm and in the nuclei of most of the tumoral cells. The second most frequent antibodies we use are melan A and HMB45, which are melanocytic specific antibodies. Here, melan A is completely negative throughout the tumor, and we do have positive controls in the adjacent normal melanocytes. And we have exactly the same profile of staining with HMB45, which is negative in the tumor and positive in the adjacent melanocytes. So with a HMB45 and melan A negative, we need to find other antibodies. Here is the MIT-F expression, and we see that there are some areas where we have a positive nuclei and a small cytoplasmic stain, and again we have the positivity in the adjacent normal melanocytes, which are much smaller, as you can see. Here is the expression of SOX10, and we have a nuclear positivity that is present in most cells. It's not very strong stain, and here are the controls that is quite stronger in the small melanocytes in the nearby epidermis. As a summary, if you have S100 positivity but negativity with both melan A and HMB45, if you have both MITF and SOX10 positivity, this allows you to make a diagnosis of melanoma. So what about the epithelial antibodies in case they were in your panel? You should not be surprised if they are somewhat positive. Here's the pan-keratin AE1A3 antibody and EMA antibody. The pan-keratin antibody can be very strongly positive in a limited number of cells. And here we have a faint but still focal positivity of EMA. Here's another example of a dedifferentiated melanoma. We have a largely ulcerated lesion, and on SOX10 there's only a focal area that is positive. We can see here a zoom in with some degree of pigmentation. On the H&E we see the pigmented area has smaller cells, and this compared to the large unpigmented clone on the side. Moving to the second topic, which is unpigmented Mets. We'll illustrate this with a core biopsy performed on an axillary lymph node in a 70-year-old man. The core biopsy was fully tumoral with unpigmented spindled cells. The patient had a history of melanoma, so there was an initial panel that was negative for S100, MIT-F, and SOX10. Here's the H&E of the melanoma that occurred 4 years before in the same area as the lymph node. Here's some very nice images of pagetoid spreading, as well as dermal invasion with mitotic activity and pulverocytes. As expected, this melanoma was positive for BRAF V600E antibody. So with this data, we went back to the core biopsy in the lymph node, which was diffusely positive for BRAF also. So this allowed us to formally link these two lesions. As a rule of thumb, melanomas will never lose such strong drivers as BRAF or NRAS. Moving to the last chapter of this video, desmoplastic melanoma. Here is a typical case of a desmoplastic melanoma. In this setting, it is mandatory to perform IHC. There are many differential diagnoses. Here is a canonical presentation on high power view with the fibrotic background, spindled cytology, and lymphoid infiltrates. Usually you'll be performing a panel among which you expect to have S100 and SOX10 to be diffusely positive throughout your lesion. Here's the S100 in this example. We have a diffuse positivity both in the cytoplasm and the nuclei. We see the fibrotic background. Here is the low power of the SOX10 IHC, It is diffusely positive. All the nuclei are strongly stained. As a side note, both S100 and SOX10 are useful to assess the presence of perineural invasion, which is a major prognostic factor in desmoplastic melanoma. In your panel, you will also perform Melanate and HME45 to show that these are negative and the dermal melanocytes. This can help you find the presence of a junctional component, or in rare occasions, show the presence of a mixed dermal component. Here are some other antibodies that you can have some positivity for smooth muscle actin, which can be very focally but strongly positive. And also, it would not be rare to find some CD68 a weak diffuse positivity. A minority of desmoplastic melanomas will express PRAME. This video will not cover all the other antibodies used in the differential diagnosis of desmoplastic melanoma. Here is my unique take-home message from this video. And here's a small algorithm. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to be informed when I'll be done with part 3.